Novel MedTech Sensations, shaping the future of health.
Welcome everyone, good morning, and welcome to this Novel MedTech Sensations session where we are going to discuss with our panelists about innovation in shaping the future of healthcare. So let me make an introduction of our panelists today before to jump into discussions. We have Ariana Adjani, co-founder of Fine Treatment. Fine Treatment is a company, a British company with a clinically proven technology about treating kidney stone and chronic pancreatitis in a non-invasive manner. She was studying in leading institutions, Oxford, Cambridge, and the London School of Economics, and she is an awarded economic healthcare expert. Welcome, Ariana. We have also Faisal Nawaz. He's the COO of Global Remote Research Scholars Program. He's a physician researcher, and he is passionate about digital health and how can we use digital health to improve the quality of life of patients. He also is advisor for Imedis, which is an exciting company which is developing the first metaverse for patients in healthcare. And also he is collaborating in a podcast led by medical students that they engage in conversations about education, and mental and public health. So I hope at the end of the session you all can be subscribed to Faisal's podcast. And last but not least, we have Dr. Mazin Gadir. He's 20 years experience in consultancy firms, leading consultancy firms. He currently is working as director of strategic partnerships at ICBIA. And he's an advisor of the Dubai Health Authority and has collaborated with the World Health Organization. So welcome, Mazin. So we are going to cover today three main topics in our session. The first topic is going to be how innovation can help sustainability in our societies. Second topic, it's going to be about we are in Dubai, so we are going to cover emerging markets and how innovation plays a role in those regions. And the last, we are going to cover the future, where innovation is heading us. So I'm going to start with you, Ariana. You as the founder and innovator, what is your take about sustainability and how Fine Treatment is playing a role into that, bringing that sustainability in our society? The mic.
Good morning. Can you hear me now?
Yes, probably.
It's perfect. Wonderful. First of all, I'm really glad to be here today. And I'm really glad to see so many curious faces and lightened up eyes. We're discussing really important matters. And thank you for the introduction. And the novelty of Fine Treatment's technology lies in its complete safety, patient safety, and yet highly effective results for patients. We were very careful when we created a novel way of treating different chronic diseases at the capillary level, enabling patients to be treated outside of the hospital setting, so in primary care, in the community care, and at home. And what we achieved was to help healthcare systems become more sustainable at the same time. There are different aspects of sustainability that we've addressed. The number one is the shift in the delivery of care from hospitals to primary care to at-home care. Hospitals are very CO2 emissions. They're not a very sustainable way of treating patients for many reasons. Heavy CO2 emissions, lots of one-time use of material, lots of resource intensive. So it means the costs of running hospital treatments is actually, the costs are very high. And given that many people are living now with chronic diseases, more than 50% of the global population lives with chronic disease. This situation and the situation of the aging population means that we physically can't treat all people at the hospital settings. That's why many healthcare systems experience long waiting lists and suboptimal patient outcomes. People have to return sometimes to hospitals for follow-up appointments. And this is why we need more solutions that would ease the burden of care on the healthcare systems. And this is, spine treatments is one of the solutions that has this idea of easing the burden on the healthcare system, so shifting the delivery of care from hospitals to primary care to at-home care, actually echoing the need for this personalized care, but also outside of the hospital setting. That's one aspect. The second aspect is all about the design of medical devices. And if you look at the regulatory landscape and how you design firstly your product, and then you take it through regulation, then you take it through approval, then you take it to patients, and then sometimes you may need to make changes, and all of this requires a lot of resources for companies when they're innovating. So you really need to put a lot of effort into the correct design of the product early on, because later changes mean more regulatory challenges, perhaps more clinical studies. Your data then needs to be updated, and then the costs increase. So we took all of these design considerations early on, at the very start, and we built in the sustainability aspect into the design of our medical devices. They are exceptionally CO2 friendly. The material that we use is unique, it's patented, and it accumulates the naturally emitted body heat and does not require external energy sources. So at the time when we're trying to combat climate change, these types of design, user-friendly designs and environmentally friendly designs are really important. So I will stop there, but there are several aspects of sustainability that we can target.
Yeah, no, thank you, Ariana. I think that it's a very important thing when we as founders, we initiate a company to not only look for the non-medical need, but also to consider how to make the healthcare system more sustainable, both for the environment and for the system as a whole, if it's public for sake of the taxpayers, and if it's private, of course, because company, they have to find their returns. So I would pass the word to you, Mazin. You have worked for notorious consultancies and also great institutions. So what is the concern today? You must see different points of view from the institutions, from corporations. So what is your take about the role of innovation and sustainability?
Absolutely. Thank you so much. I hope you can hear me. So I think I want to first show my gratitude to Dr. Dylan for inviting me, for being part of this amazing panel. So if you look at sustainability and innovation and the role of how it's disrupting the healthcare systems across the region, as Ariana said, we are in face of multiple challenges: aging population, prevalence of chronic diseases, increase or rising expenditure, no matter what the region does, because the region is going through universal health insurance transformation. Saudi Arabia is doing a lot of privatization, and Egypt is moving more towards the UHI, universal health insurance programs. India is doing the same. The cost is still somewhat rising. So the role of innovation sustainability, now you have an added accountability element on the health system to try and measure their carbon footprint, to look at how they can actually help in reducing pollution and I presume contribute to the climate change cause. On average, the carbon footprint that is coming out of healthcare systems runs around 4%. And I learned that when I went to Holland, one of the most advanced healthcare systems in the world. They measured their health system to be above the threshold, above the average. They contribute to they calculated the contribution of their carbon footprint to be 6%. That's above the global average of what a health system carbon footprint would look like. My thoughts and what I've learned there that most of that 6% carbon footprint comes from the operating rooms. 30% of the actual pollution comes out of operating rooms. And by the way, 60% of any hospital revenue comes from the operating rooms. Go figure. So what I think the role of sustainability and innovation is to try and bring in an important player that MedTech contributes to $400 to $500 billion worth of market globally. In the Middle East or in this region, in GCC, it's around $60 to $70 million. So it's still a lot to catch up. But what I'm saying is that the MedTech industry could actually contribute to help with innovating more to try and bring in that carbon footprint a little bit lower. So if you look at it from that sustainability point of view. So the innovation perspective in the MedTech industry is pretty humongous, especially in this region, because the region still hovers around $60 million worth of market size. There's a lot to actually contribute. There's a huge market to be explored, for example, in countries like Saudi Arabia, where MedTech could actually be a player in sustainability and perhaps look at driving more climate change cause and try to revolutionize the health systems and help the health systems with aging population, chronic disease prevalence, rising cost, and workforce scarcity and whatnot. This is what I'd like to add just to this discussion.
Yeah, no, thank you, Mazin. And I believe that yes, the Gulf countries can have a great role in innovation and to reach these sustainability goals, especially in the OR, quite a complex field to improve in that space, but certainly very interesting. So I will ask you, Faisal, now. What is now that we were talking about the Gulf countries, emerging markets, which is your take about the innovation and what are you seeing lately? Which are the trends in innovation in this region?
Thank you, Andrew. Is it audible?
No, it's not working.
Probably now. Yes, perfect. So thank you, Andrew. I think we are very fortunate to be living in a time and region where just generally innovation on its own is a broadly accepted term. And we're not just seeing it in the context of literature and papers, but in real world applications. I think we had an excellent keynote speech that showed all the applications that are coming forward for innovations. And when it comes to healthcare, I think from a physician researcher perspective, it's very important to see how involved we are in the process of driving this innovation. So often we've got a lot of tech enthusiasts, you've got entrepreneurs on one side, and they're building amazing products out there. And how many of these products are being gone through a process of at least engaging with patient groups, with physician groups? And that's where all the data really lies, because without the data that we use in just the context of AI, technology, that's going to generate products that are maybe Western result-based. But how do we impact this region, which is going to come out from the data that comes from our population? So to be able to talk to people who think innovation, but also practice it, which ideally should be the healthcare providers, the patient populations, I think that's the context where we're going towards. Some of the work that we do at GRRSP is sort of looking at mentorship for such research organizations, for digital health organizations, for educational institutions. And the upskilling aspect of that is really needed. So you've got innovation, that can only drive to a certain extent, but if our own application-based people, such as physicians, researchers, are not equipped enough, then we might actually have a struggle in sustaining that innovation. So I think that's a very big part, and it goes back to Ariana's point as well about sustainability. So I hope that we can start to think from the data aspect. They already call data the new oil in this region. So that's how valuable it's becoming. And that could be digital data, that could be patient data, but it helps us to start to maybe imagine a world where we're all thinking from a baseline knowledge, where everyone can speak the language of data before we can come up with new innovations.
Yeah. No, thank you for those comments, Faisal. I think that yes, it's an exciting moment to be in this part of the world. And I wanted to ask you, Mazin, which are the regions? I suppose that from the consultancy point of view, you are seeing the main hubs on innovation in this region. Which is the future? Are you seeing new countries and cities that are trying to create these emerging hubs of innovation as we have here in Dubai or in Riyadh in Saudi Arabia? How is the future looking like for those hubs of innovation?
Sure. So I think in 2024, according to the World Economic Forum and a number of different economic forecasts, obviously the biggest growth, economic growth, is projected to be in India, 7.5% GDP growth as a huge potential for innovation and industry. Saudi Arabia is doing a lot as well, and people are keeping a close eye specifically on the huge mega and giga projects that are happening in Saudi. I've just been in Saudi last week and going out tonight. Saudi, the amount of projections for economic growth is overwhelming, I believe, and there's a huge focus on localizing manufacturing production, which is, again, for the medtech industry, is a huge, important, critical hub for innovation. So localizing production and manufacturing in Saudi, working with research centers in Saudi is humongous. I was just speaking to Dr. Naif about the 3 major research hubs that are trying to drive more depth in clinical research, in production and manufacturing. He mentioned it: King Saud University, King Faisal Specialist Hospital, and KAIMAR, King Abdullah International Medical Research Centers. Saudi is doing a lot, and people should actually attend LEAP next week if you get a chance. It's going to be a humongous attractive point as well. There are 3 other countries that has been projected to be also very attractive because of the population expansion, the economic growth: Iraq, Morocco, and I believe there was one more, I just forgot it, but Iraq, Morocco is very attractive, and Libya, funnily enough. Libya, Iraq, and Morocco, they're looking at it as an economic growth potential as well, population-wise, especially for Iraq and Morocco and other neighboring countries. If you are in the Middle East, you cannot help but looking at Africa, Ethiopia, Nigeria, potential growth in countries like Rwanda, Botswana, that could be actually huge potential hubs for innovation and healthcare system disruption and sustainability drive.
Yeah, thank you, Mazin, for your takes into that. Rihanna, you wanted to add something, yes?
Yes, I'd like to add, there are different aspects that support innovation. One area is when you invent something new. The other area is when you test your new technology, and clinical trials are exceptionally important. Randomized controlled clinical trials is what ultimately verifies the validity of your innovation. And you've got to collaborate. For us, an SME, a British SME, and R&D and a MedTech company, we've collaborated with Pakistan, for instance, on testing our medical technology in patients. And there are different countries that are operating and would like to operate jointly with innovators from the UK and also from other regions on testing technologies, testing their validity. India is also doing massively well in this space. There are different clinical research organizations, CROs, that want to test technologies coming very often from the West, but they need to be tested and trialed. And so in our experience, Pakistan was a winner for us, and we've run successful clinical trials there. But also, let's look at Europe, let's look at Georgia, let's look at Armenia in Europe. They're the countries that have also produced amazing R&D. And so we've got to look at these regions not only for innovations, but also for testing existing technologies.
Thank you for sharing that, Ariana. And I think that this will blend very well with the next topic that we wanted to cover, which is the innovation, where we are going. Also, echoing the words of the first panelists here, talking where we are about where we are heading. And there are some things that we know, and some things that we don't know that we don't know. And that's the it's both dangerous and exciting at the same time. So for instance, talking about this, Faisal, you are deeply involved with this company about the metaverse, that they want to offer a metaverse for patients in healthcare. Explain us a little bit more, at least I'm excited to learn where this company is headed and which is the vision.
Absolutely. I think it's a very exciting space when we look at virtual reality, augmented reality, and the metaverse as a whole. And in terms of, from a mental health perspective, I think we're having real examples here in Dubai, in the UAE, where the idea of a metaverse clinic is now ongoing, where we're actually being able to see patients through the metaverse. And the idea here is that the patients, especially with mental health challenges, might find it challenging to be able to visit a doctor, to see themselves in the hospital, either because of stigma, or it could be because of their own illness. Sometimes phobias and anxieties could actually make it difficult. So the metaverse clinic in that aspect comes in, where we're able to simulate an environment that looks like a clinic. There's a psychiatrist or a psychologist sitting there, and the patient might be in the UAE, they might be in the UK, Jordan, and neighboring countries, and yet they're getting an immersive experience, which helps them to feel the connection with their doctor, with their psychologist. On top of that, I think another important thing is just the virtual reality-based innovations we're seeing. So there's a lot of evidence out there where we're seeing virtual reality being used to treat phobias, PTSD, lots of traumatic disorders as well. And recently at the Arab Health, for example, we had the chance to see something called the Immersive Mental Health Lab. And that is a first of its kind lab in the region where, again, a simulated three-dimensional environment is created for the patient. And depending on what their challenge is, we can actually tailor the environment to look like that. And slowly through exposure therapy, we are able to give them that practice before they go into the real world. And this is all happening here in the region. We don't really have to look far for it. So these are some of the things that excite me. And this is from the technology aspect. And I think I'm very happy to also see patients being very accepting of these technologies. I think we've come a long way when it comes to digital literacy for patients. It's another thing when it comes to digital literacy for professionals in healthcare and bridging that gap. But the openness of being able to adopt these technologies from the patients have been very promising.
Yes, no, it's fascinating. As you were talking, you remind me the experience I had in my former company. It was working at Penumbra. It's a company well known about treating a stroke with one of the pioneers of mechanical thrombectomy. But then at some point, we brought up a technology, was called real technology for therapy after wound injuries. So patients could see in these virtual reality Googles how to make certain exercises like gaming, and were mimicking those boring exercises in rehabilitation. So it's so exciting that this is being translated into metaverse for patients with certain phobias that in any other way those patients could be treated, right?
Just an additional point here. I think when we think about just the patient aspect, there's also the metaverse being implemented potentially for research as well. So one of the things that we're now discussing at our organization is to see how the metaverse could be used for clinical trials or maybe clinical trial-based education. So a lot of scientists, researchers, medtech people might need sort of a certification in the future to be able to carry out such metaverse-based clinical trial education courses. So that's another aspect where technologies like these could help us actually educate ourselves better and then hopefully have a promising future.
Yes, no, I fully agree with you, Fazal. However, we can bring these amazing technologies, but it has to marry with healthcare systems and institutions, and also they have to play with different technologies as well. So we don't have standalone technologies. So how, Mazin, you see that these new innovations will marry in the future with the healthcare systems and become just one seamless structure to make easier implementations?
Sure, that's a very good question. And I believe the role of research and academia is vital in this area. And you saw recently the Dubai Health Authority and the announcement of the new entity, the Dubai Health, which combines the healthcare practice with academic and research capabilities. And I believe that's where the key focus is in the next 50 years across this region. And I mean GCC countries with our focus on bringing research and academia to drive sustainability and innovation. When you bring in innovation into healthcare systems, the missing link in the UAE has been always that intervention of the research and academic role in bringing in more adoption, bridging the gaps, and building more innovations out of it, right? So now you can see there's a lot of investments coming out of, in Abu Dhabi, you have the TII, the Technology Innovation Institute. You have Khalifa University working closely with the Department of Health and other partners from the government, the likes of Mubadala or M42, to try and invest and bring in the role of research to adopt innovation within the health systems, but also build an ecosystem out of that, right? And we always use that. Back in my role in the government, we used to benchmark with, for example, the Golden Triangle in the UK, the Oxford, Cambridge, and London Golden Triangle that brings in a lot of those startups in the pharma life sciences, in the medtech business, and they are all exiting with huge amount of money being paid for acquisitions and whatnot. So again, how do you actually bring in a pulsating heart for your health system is by adding that academic and research component. We see that also in Saudi Arabia, where now, for example, CACS, the King Abdulaziz Center for Science and Technology, is bringing innovative initiatives like building an accelerator, the Generative Artificial Intelligence Accelerator, in partnership with the NDDP, the National Transformation Development Plan, as well as a program, as well as working with SADAYA, the Saudi Data and Artificial Intelligence Authority, to create this incubator accelerator program and close to the academic institution to try and funnel in a lot of those innovations out to the marketplace, to the healthcare industry, for example, and then try to bring it back again to see how we can even breed more innovation. So the role of research and academia is being focused upon, and we can see evidence of that in the UAE and Saudi Arabia, specifically in the investments that have been done by Public Investment Fund, by ADQ, Abu Dhabi Al-Qabida, ADIA, and so on and so forth. If you follow the investment funds in this region and how they are focused on research and development, because this is your area of bringing innovation into the industry and breed more innovation that can be circulated in a circular economy.
Yes, no, absolutely, and these all these examples are being closely watched by other countries in the region to imitate your successful story. So, Ariane, any final takes as a researcher about what has been just discussed?
Actually, I'm bursting with exciting information to share. I'm also a board director at Oxfordshire Local Enterprise Partnership, so I'm in charge of diverting British government funds into the support of our local Oxfordshire economy and the ecosystem. And we have seen a lot of spin-outs from the University of Oxford and from Oxford Brookes University. We have 2 universities in Oxfordshire. And we see this vibrant ecosystem thriving. We're always talking about the Oxford and Cambridge Arch. We're trying to see how we can integrate these 2 wonderful universities. And of course, we have very close ties with London. So the triangle, the golden triangle that we've been talking about. I'm actually thrilled that Fine Treatment was, just last year, Fine Treatment was named the most innovative business across Oxfordshire. We've won the highly commended award. So we have done something amazing over the last 15 years, clearly, to have this accolade given to us by our community. So I see that there are exciting areas that bring out amazing innovations. What we do need is to connect these innovations with healthcare systems. And I find that at the moment, this bridge between amazing novel technologies that are life-changing to patients, I feel this adoption link is not strong enough. I see many technologies that are 20 years old that are now just being adopted by the NHS. 20 years is a very long gap between innovation and its adoption. We really need to find models of innovation adoption to speed things up, you know, to make patients feel better now rather than in 20 years' time. We need to ease the burden of different bureaucratic processes across the healthcare systems, and we need to make sure that patients can access innovations ASAP in order to extend their health span and actually prolong their healthy life expectancy and stimulate longevity this way.
Yes, so thank you for sharing. I think that there are amazing partnerships that could be done in both hemispheres, and there are strengths that we have in countries like in the UK, and certainly things that we could learn also in what is going on here in the UAE and Saudi Arabia, just to name a few. So we can close our session now. Just thank our panelists here for such an interesting innovation session, and thank you all for your attention. Thank you.